Hello, welcome to the next episode of Clean Critically. We will talk about chemophobia and cleaning. This is a two-parter, and these are excellent ideas for manufacturers from the product quality cleaning workshop teachers.
Of Darren Williams, a professor at Sam Houston State University and leader of the Cleaning Research Group.
And Barbara
And
and Ed Koenigsberg with BFK Solutions. They are experienced experts in critical cleaning and contamination control and editors of the two-volume set here of the critical cleaning handbooks by the CRC. Fantastic resources.
Okay. We're
ooh,
going to start by talking about a nefarious chemical known as oxidane. That's the official name. And
I've
it's
heard
been-
of this.
Yes,
yes,
it is useful in a lot of industrial processes. In fact, most processes.
including
Um,
power generation, fire suppression, hydraulic systems, cleaning products, commercial food prep.
it's considered safe and
not
non-toxic.
toxic.
Yes.
We have to see, there is an oxidane foundation to discuss oxidane, and it is also known as DHMO.
Mm-hmm.
HMO or dihydrogen monoxide. These are all other names for water.
That's right. And in excessive inhalation of this in 2019 by the World Health Organization, they found that 236,000 people died from inhalation of water,
Yes, better known
also
as.
known as drowning.
Yes.
But what this does is leads us to the topic of chemophobia.
Which we know is real
Yeah.
because there is a Wikipedia page. If there's a
Of course.
Wikipedia page, it must exist. And chemophobia is an aversion to or prejudice against chemicals, and it may be rational or irrational. It's often related to carcinogenicity. Michelle Frankel, a chemistry prof at Bryn Mawr, says we are a chemophobic culture. Chemical has become a synonym for something artificial, adulterated, hazardous, or toxic.
And you know Bryn Mawr.
I know Bryn Mawr because
That's
I
right.
went there. So what's the problem with chemophobia? Because the problem is that it really may unnecessarily restrict what we do in manufacturing. Most chemicals can be used properly. In critical cleaning, you're forced sometimes to move from a supposedly bad chemical to a good one, and the available alternatives may and probably do have workplace safety and environmental impacts. Chemophobia can negatively impact product quality, and that includes public safety and patient safety.
Right. When I was in industry, we had this difficult situation where the manager class, if you will, had business degrees, not chemistry degrees. And it was difficult for a chemist to be a good manager because they had chemistry degrees, not management degrees. And so it was
Yeah,
very difficult for management to understand that chemicals can be used safely. They didn't want to use chemicals. They had scary names and they were worried that someone would get sick and it would be the company's fault.
Yeah.
and if it gets onto certain lists, which we'll talk about in a while, um, sometimes management says don't. Now, what happens? How does this happen? Part of it is related to what I've come to call political chemistry.
Hmm.
And those are efforts to criminalize one or more chemicals. It's generally by the chemical suppliers to promote their own stuff, their own product. And they'll say things like, my stuff is safe, your stuff is poison. And often it's political chemistry is promoted by activists and lawyers who may be in service of what I think of as sometimes as faux environmental groups, perhaps, or certain competing companies.
Hmm.
Now, granted, there can definitely be technical data-driven concern about a chemical, but political chemistry gets into the area of supreme hyperbole.
Hmm. Yes.
I guess I should give some examples of political chemistry. This goes back to the great Freon phase out, the CFC phase out of the 90s. And as a replacement, a large chemical company promoted their solvent. They asserted the competitor's product was bad. They actually were distributing petitions at technical conferences demanding that we sign them and demanding that EPA ban the competitor's product. They
Mm.
met privately with the EPA and made all kinds of gossipy little noises. How do I know this? Well, I know I have inside information from way back. They badmouthed the competition, they fostered restrictive regulations. Know what happened eventually? Both products were banned. Came right back to bite them in the tuchus.
I think
The
that's a great point. So they were able to poison the well of their competitor's compound, but eventually both companies suffered. So this is a short-term, a short-sighted approach,
Yeah.
and it heightens chemophobia.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And the next one I think of is the Psychic Friends Network. And that's where a lobbyist, activist, was looking at N-propylbromide way before long-term toxicity studies were done. And this was an expert that had been associated with chlorinated solvents, and this individual asserted that the inhalation level should be 0.05 parts per million. Guess what? 20 years later, the EPA set the inhalation level at 0.05 parts per million after a bunch of tox studies. So, political chemistry, it's sort of like wrestling with pigs. Everybody gets covered with mud and only the pig is happy. Is that a Mark Twain? I think
Yeah.
it might be.
I've
Um,
heard it as throwing mud gets you nowhere. You lose a lot of ground.
Yeah.
good one. And the problem is that regulatory agencies have to pay attention to assertions. They can't ignore them. Corporations run scared, and in the end, product quality suffers.
Yeah. We hear the statement, well, we have to get rid of the bad actors because the chemicals are often demonized.
Hmm.
And they talk about the miracle cures, switch to this new cleaning juice, use aqueous processes for everything. And and they're got to stay away from that chromium 6, so you got to go to chromium 3.
Which is a dubious solution in terms
Yeah.
if one understands the lability of that material. And of course, we see it all over in the consumer world. There's low fat diet, high fat diet, age defying face creams. And well, maybe I believe in age defying face creams. That's anti perhaps.
Yeah.
Ah, the nepotism section. We tend
Why do you
to,
call it nepotism? Tell them.
because uh, in around 1990, when I was still the Freon lady, I was asked to discuss free radicals with people. So I got our daughter, who was then a high school student, to feature the dread chlorine monoxide radical carrying a sign saying death to the ozone layer, and the oxygen is smoking a cigar, and there's the little free radical.
Yeah, such a radical.
That's such a radical. Now, fast forward to 2022,
The next
when
generation.
the next generation, her niece, Noah Koenigsberg, taking after her aunt Deborah Koenigsberg, portrayed perchloroethylene as Lady Macbeth, complete with a Shakespearean costume over the molecule. And she is saying, out damned spot.
Yes, because it's a good cleaning solvent.
That's used in dry cleaning. That's true. Do you want
Yeah.
to, Darren, would you
Yeah, I
like to?
think so. I mean, this is the thing that frustrates me with this solvent du jour or the latest and greatest. They will attack the things that are currently being used, and then there'll be some new thing come along as if there was a free lunch instead of this balance of risks and rewards and features and difficulties. So it's rarely a balanced approach. It's more of a band approach, and then aiming for the thing that seems to be the free lunch. We want cleaner surfaces, of course, but we're looking for that perfect solvent that dissolves everything. Well, you would not be able to store a universal solvent
Yeah.
even in a bottle if it dissolved the bottle. Yeah. So we want all of these things in one
We
solvent.
want safety and low environmental impact, But if a cleaning agent works on the soil, it can impact you, it can impact the environment. Heinlein was right. Ain't no such thing as free lunch.
That's right.
So, what should we do about chemophobia? Run and hide and don't let anyone know we are chemists.
Yeah. No, the point is recognize it where it is.
Mhm.
Recognize it in yourself and in others around you. Um, any alarmist statements should be taken with a grain of salt. Look at them a little more closely. Recognize where there may be political chemistry involved. Investigate any proposed alternatives. Have there been toxicity and environmental studies? Have there been enough of those studies? Can your current agents be used safely? In most cases, the answer is yes. But it doesn't, you have to take care to be able to do that and use them safely.
And by all means, scan the regulatory horizon. Will current and impending regulations allow continued usage? Now, you have to balance that with political chemistry statements from enthusiastic salespeople who want to sell you the alternative. So it really requires thinking, asking why.
Oh, here's one way you can keep asking why. And these are the educational resources from the Cleaning Research Group, BFK Solutions, and PQCW. And we've listed the newsletter that we at BFK Solutions put out. You can sign
And
up
Darren
for
sometimes
free.
writes for
And
Yes.
free, and it's suitable for gifting.
And
If
we
you
have these
want,
short videos, and we also have webinar videos, and those are available there at our website, shsu.edu/pqcw. And we even have some sponsored webinars and some workshops that you can look into.
lots of
Yeah.
them, lots of them there, and we have our handbook.
yeah,
Yes.
So there's a lot to go. And we thank you so much for attending Chemophobia and Cleaning,
part one.
Part 1.
Stay tuned for part
That's right. We'll be back with part 2 in just a little bit.